The whaling industry began to decline during the Civil War, and with the discovery of petroleum, retreated as the industrial age of New Bedford began. The riches of the land overtook those of the sea, with cotton mills and factories. The textile of New Bedford's industrial age provided jobs for large numbers of immigrants and further expanded the fortunes of residents, leading the city into a second period of great wealth and growth.
Perhaps the best-known quotation about New Bedford to those that love it is the famous quotation of Rickardson that this is the city of palaces. And indeed it has been a city of palaces, not only in the late whaling period, the period of the 40s and 50s, but even more so in the great period of the late 19th century when the mills began to pour money into the New Bedford economy. And what we find is a real ebullience in architecture. Fancy detail, interesting, intricate work of all kinds. We find houses that are really palaces. New Bedford was a city of working people. This is the era when New Bedford became a city of great, large neighborhoods.
But in the 1920s, New Bedford industries, plagued by striking labor forces, succumbed to the economic decay of the Depression years, and the beauty created by wealth and industrious personalities gradually began to give way to deterioration and destruction.
I have really felt quite a sense of loss in what New Bedford did leave behind when all of this degradation actually was going on. My mother's family are from New Bedford, and I had spent much of my early childhood, all the summers here, and knew New Bedford in its heyday when all the lovely big houses and the beautiful gardens were still flourishing up on County Street. That, of course, died off when the Depression came. And the Depression was everywhere, of course, and deep for everyone. But somehow or other, New Bedford had been such a beautiful city and such a lovely way of life here that it was appalling to see what it had fallen into and how very, very sad this area was. But the city just gradually deteriorated. It was just a very depressed time. New Bedford had sort of an amazing attitude of defeatism and inferiority. They just felt its day was over and that there was nothing left. In about 1960, the urban renewal program was started in New Bedford. The renewal program, of course, was demolition and rebuild. If you demolish the old buildings and build the new, you no longer have New Bedford. It's just anywhere.
I still can, in my mind, hear the huge front door slamming. It had a very particular kind of noise when it was closed, and I can still see the house sitting with snow all over it. And it was splendid. It was really splendid. It was a splendid house.
The value of a rich heritage faded in the minds of people and lay forgotten. But the sparks of history do not die so easily, but linger on in the eyes of a few who can still glimpse the meaning of the past and can understand its relationship to the present. Historic preservation began in New Bedford, and the sparks of history lighted the paths leading to a more positive present.
W.H.A.L.E stands for the Waterfront Historic Area League, and it's a private, non-profit preservation organization that was begun in 1962 by individuals who were concerned about the deterioration of buildings in the Waterfront Historic District. This area had been the center of New Bedford. It was the commercial core of the city in the days of whaling, and it was deteriorating badly, and no one seemed to be doing anything about it. And so W.H.A.L.E was formed. I think the motive for the effort to revitalize the Waterfront Historic District has been twofold. The first is, of course, preservation. The buildings are historically and architecturally important, and people feel that as a part of our heritage, they ought to be preserved. I think that always very close in our mind has been the economic value that this district has for the city. This is a historic commercial area, and the economics of preservation has also been a factor from the beginning.
W.H.A.L.E is a non-profit organization which started about 15 years ago. Until the development and the authorization for community development funding, there were really no city funds involved, nor were they available. But when we made a policy decision that we wanted to make physical improvements and visible signs of improvement with the use of community development funds, then we could form a partnership with them. Basically what the public improvements are: new street lighting, decorative type street lighting, sidewalks, trees, all of the amenities that would aesthetically improve the areas.
With that kind of leadership, we then came in and said, let's pick some key buildings like the Rodman Candle Works, or the move of the Andrew Robeson House, or the Rodman House Glass Museum. And as a non-profit organization, we will begin the rehabilitation projects on those special buildings. And we assembled money from the private sector and public sectors to really force the rehabilitation of those buildings. In some cases, we'll go through, such as the Rodman Candle Works, the entire rehabilitation, interior and exterior. In other cases, such as the Robeson House, we will concentrate our effort on exterior restoration, and then we intend to sell it to someone who, having a use for the building, will continue the process on the inside. Once these non-profit buildings were developed, we're now starting to see purely private investment as the property owners in the district, sensing the economic rebirth of the district, start to put money into their buildings, start to open up new businesses or expand existing businesses.
When we first considered the building, it was a tavern with the windows boarded up with flashing signs in the windows. We knew that it had a character just from looking at the outside. The inside, we weren't able to see a lot of the woodwork that we finally uncovered in the renovation processes because they had built another room inside the main room. But we knew just from looking at the outside and the architecture that it was a very special place to be.
Once we opened and got a little bit of publicity and got a little bit of name in the area, people started to come down at 11 o'clock in the morning, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and through the nighttime. And it seemed to change the area into a more viable economic area within itself.
The New Bedford Glass Society was looking for a place to house its growing collection. When this house was offered to us, we grabbed it immediately, and the house has been completely renovated. We are housing one of the greatest collections of glass manufactured in one individual factory. The history of the glass covers a 90-year period, and it's known throughout the entire world. It was felt that it would be a moving, living, breathing thing to bring the factory back into the area, and by luck, the old Bourne building was vacant, and they built the blowing rooms. Now people go in there to see them make glass.